In this particular chapter number 3, three sections we need to see. Section 1, 9 and 10. Initially, we will start with section 1. In any act, whatever the act it is, it may be your income tax or it may be your company or whatever the act it is, in section 1, always it deals with title, extent and scope. Title means name of the act. What is the name of the act? CGST Act 2017. And next one is commencement. What is meant by the word commencement? From which date this particular act came into enforcement? 1st July 2017. But whereas with respect to Jammu and Kashmir, it came into existence from 8th July 2017. Why with respect to Jammu and Kashmir instead of July 1st, it came into enforcement on July 8th? What can be the reason? At the time, before independence, there were the kingdoms. Rajyarika Vyavastha, Rajyalu, Nalanti Rajashekarlu పరిపాలిస్తున్నటువంటి టైం నుంచి India just converted into democracy. There was one person who is behind that, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. That person even asked the Kashmir king to merge it in India. Then at the time, the Kashmir king asked him a favor. So any act, if at all it is going to be passed in India, it must be placed in Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. If at all Jammu and Kashmir Assembly gives its consent, then only the law is applicable to it. Otherwise, the law is not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. This was the favor that was asked by the Kashmir king in order to merge the kingdom into India. That's why Article number 370 was created. Article number 370. It will give the special status to the Jammu and Kashmir. By that particular special status, any act that is placed in the parliament, it will be simultaneously placed in Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. If Jammu and Kashmir Assembly gives its consent, the law is applicable to whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. If Jammu and Kashmir Assembly does not give its consent, the law is applicable to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, that is a point we need to remember. If Jammu and Kashmir Assembly gives its consent, the law is applicable to whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. If the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly does not give its consent, then the law is applicable to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir. At that time, Article number 370 was there. That's why it was applicable from July 8th. But now this Article number 370 was abolished by the central government. It is no more there. And third one, to extent. Extent means to which places Section 1 of CGST Act is applicable. It is applicable to whole of India. It is applicable to whole of India. So, with respect to that, what is meant by the word India, What is meant by the word India? Mera Bharat Mahan. What is meant by the word India, Mr. NRI, you need to tell me what is meant by the word India. Otherwise, it is the biggest crime you have made. Then for that, severe punishment will be there. Yes, India is a country, nation. You know that one? Shanara, you know the pledge? At present, you remember? No. Okay, fine. Okay, now the point is here. What is meant by the word India? This is called India. As per Article number 1 of the Constitution, what you said is some extent true, So territory of India, territorial waters, seabed and subsoil, underlying such waters, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and airspace above it is treated as India. This is the act name. Territorial waters, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and other maritime zones act 1976 is act name. This is called as India. If you want to learn it in a simplified manner, this is called India. So this is the territory of India. Let us assume that the land area, and along with that, this is the baseline. From the baseline up to 12 nautical miles, it is the territorial waters. From the baseline up to 24 nautical miles, it is the contiguous zone or Indian customs waters. From the baseline up to 200 nautical miles, it is exclusive economic zone. Why the sea waters was divided like this? Why sea waters was divided like this? Up to 12 nautical miles, territorial waters, up to 24, Indian customs waters, up to 200 nautical miles, exclusive economic zone. Why it was divided like this? What can be the reason? First point, what is meant by this territorial waters? It is a part and parcel of India. Any person who enters into these territorial waters is deemed to be entered into India. In our Telugu, ఆ నేల నాది, ఈ నింగి నాది, ఆ నీరు నాది. ఏ నీరు అంటే టెరిటోరియల్ వాటర్స్. కోకోనట్ వాటర్ కాదు. Fine. What is the thing here, ma? Territorial waters. From the baseline up to 12 nautical miles, it is the territorial waters. It is a part and parcel of India. Anyone who enters into these territorial waters is deemed to be entered into India. In order to prevent him, additional 12 nautical miles was given. 12 plus 12, total 24 nautical miles. It is known as Indian customs waters. It is created for the sake of national defense. It is created for the sake of national defense. That's why if you observe KGF2 climax scene, in that the Navy people will say, that means, ma'am, please give us the permission to shoot the vessel. Otherwise, Rocky will be out of the Indian territorial waters. He will be there in the international waters. So please allow us to shoot that particular vessel. If you remember the climax scene, these were the dialogues in that particular movie. Because once 24 nautical miles were crossed, Indian government does not have the authority to shoot the vessel. Only up to 24 only, Indian government is having the every power to shoot that particular vessel. Vessel means ship. Once 24 nautical miles was crossed, Indian government does not have the authority to shoot the ship. Only Interpol, international polices can do that. That's why in that movie, there's another movie is also there. Yamudu 2, I think, Danny. Yamudu 2, I think so. In that Indian Ocean, Yamudu 2, na, the movie name. Okay. In Telugu, Yamudu 2, I think so. Singham 2, na, in Telugu also. Only Singham, part 1. Okay. Part 2 name is itself Singham. Okay. Danny Singham. Okay. In that first half, that particular hero will arrest the Danny, ma. Why, ma? He actually there in the port area. So he's having the exclusive authority to arrest him. But in the second part, he just need the Interpol permission and foreign, some police officers permission is needed. If you observe that. Why, ma'am? That fellow is there in Indian Ocean at that time. Beyond 24 nautical miles. That's why Interpol permission is needed. So Indian government is having the every power to deal with the particular matter if at all it is 24 nautical miles. Beyond that, Indian government will not have the authority. That's why 24 nautical miles is created for the sake of national defense. From the baseline up to 200 nautical miles, it is exclusive economic zone. Why it was created? For the exploration of natural resources. Say for example, in the 170th nautical mile, American satellite find out that there was some oil resources in the sea. Even though it was found out by the American satellite, exclusive right is there to India only. That means whosoever finds it, only Indians are having the exclusive economic rights up to 200 nautical miles. From the baseline up to 12 nautical miles is the territorial waters. From the baseline up to 24 nautical miles is Indian customs waters. From the baseline up to 200 nautical miles is exclusive economic zone. Territorial waters is a part and parcel of India. Indian customs waters is created for the sake of national defense, and 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone is created for the exploration of natural resources. Okay, sea waters belongs to India, not the land under the sea. No, the land under the sea also belongs to India. The land below the territorial waters is known as seabed and subsoil. The land below the exclusive economic zone is known as continental shelf. Both belongs to India. The land below the territorial waters is known as seabed and subsoil. The land below the exclusive economic zone is known as continental shelf. To both these places also section 1 will be applicable. Okay, sea waters and underlying land only belongs to you, not the airspace. No, airspace also belongs to us. Airspace also belongs to India. To all these places, section 1 of CGST Act will be applicable. What is meant by the nautical mile? 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.8515 kilometers. 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.8515 kilometers. This is all about section number 1 we need to remember. Okay, ma'am. And now after that we need to enter into these things are not needed. Yeah, this is the thing you need to copy. I think today class will be over after copying this almost. Section 9 index ma. In section 9 there are 5 subsections: 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5. 9.4 is not in the syllabus, you can exclude it, but we will have a little discussion on that. 9.1 FCM, 9.2 GST on petroleum products, 9.3 RCM, 9.4 RCM, 9.5 GST to be paid by the ECO. These are the cases that we are going to discuss here. So please make a note of it. After that, I think we can close the session. It will take that much of time, at least 10 minutes. Okay, if at all time is there, we will discuss about this one also. Please make a note of it, ma. This is the index of section 9, what we are going to discuss now. Whereas after the introduction part of levy and collection, section 1, what we have discussed, now we need to enter into section 9 ma. Whereas with respect to 9.3, initially we need to start with, what does 9.3 deals with ma? Reverse charge mechanism. What is meant by the word reverse charge mechanism? Tax will be paid by the recipient directly to the government. Generally, RCM with respect to services was in the syllabus. RCM with respect to services was in the syllabus. RCM with respect to goods is not in the syllabus. Only RCM with respect to services was in the syllabus. Yes. Okay, one pass. Another one undali. Only one. Some. No, this fellow gave me. Mr. NRA, what? Mr. NRA is second the party. Where is my compensation? What you will give then? Nothing. Then definitely you need to face the consequences today. I will ask you questions then. Okay, fine then. So, other than meaning, it started my feelings. So today, Being NRI actually, till now actually made your concept. Not today. I will ask you a few questions then. Okay, what is meant by the word FCM? That's why. That's why you need to bring. Tomorrow bring it. Okay, fine. So now the matter is settled. Okay, that's now. So because you did not say the answer, that's the punishment. You need to follow that as per the protocol. Fine. So, so protocol everybody should follow, na? Yes, this is a protocol you need to follow. Now everything is as per the rule. Rule is rule. Rule for even NRIs also. No exception. Fine. So now come to the point of 931 RCM. Whereas with respect to RCM, reverse charge mechanism, who will pay the GST? Recipient. Whereas with respect to 93, it covers only RCM with respect to services, not RCM with respect to goods. And the points which are notified under 93, in those cases only RCM is applicable. If the matter is not specified under 93, in those cases what will be applicable? FCM will be applicable. The automatic presumption is FCM. If at all it is not notified under RCM, automatically what will be applicable, ma'am? FCM will be applicable. For that, the first service is GTA services, ma'am. With respect to GTA services, what is meant by the GTA, ma'am? Goods Transport Agency. Any example for GTA? Samantha? Namrata? Yes, Navata Transport is example. You need to tell me, simple one. Namrata, Samantha, what is this? You need to tell me. Navata Transport only, na? Okay, fine. So Navata Transport, Kranti Transport, SRMT, VRL Logistics, like that. So many examples we can discuss with respect to that. So if the supplier is GTA and recipient is any of these specified persons, in those cases, what will be applicable, ma? RCM will be applicable. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. Who are the specified recipients there? Factory, society, cooperative society, body corporate, partnership firm, CTP, registered person. CTP will discuss it later on in section number 10 in this chapter only. Meanwhile, if the supplier is GTA, recipient is any of these specified persons, in those cases what will be applicable, ma'am? RCM is applicable. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. If at all the specified people are the recipient, then only the concept of RCM is applicable. If the recipient is other than these specified persons, in those cases, what will be applicable, ma'am? FCM will be applicable. What will be applicable, ma'am? FCM will be applicable. Okay. But whereas with respect to GTA, there are two options, ma'am. One, you can follow either FCM, that is forward charge mechanism, or you can follow RCM, reverse charge mechanism. For FCM, you can follow either FCM or RCM. If it only wants to follow FCM, 12% with ITC. If you want to follow RCM, 5% without ITC. But now after amendment, from your attempt onwards, along with 12% ITC, 5% without ITC is also there under FCM now. So GTA is having the two options. You can follow either FCM or you can follow either RCM. Whereas if you want to follow the FCM, what is the rate of tax? Previously only 12% with ITC was there. But now along with 12% with ITC, 5% without ITC is also there in FCM. And if he wants to follow the RCM, there is only one rate prescribed, that is 5% without ITC. Here 12%, 5% means 12% means 6 plus 6. 6% CGST, 6% SGST. 5% means 2.5 CGST and 2.5 SGST. So, with respect to GTA, there are two options. One option is either you can follow FCM or you can follow RCM. If he wants to follow FCM, there are two options that are laid to you. 12% with ITC, 5% without ITC. But under RCM, there will be only one rate. That rate will be 5% without ITC. Okay, that is the point we need to remember. But whereas with respect to GTA only, this type of option will be there. With respect to the rest of the cases, this type of option will not be there. Okay, this is the first point. And second one, legal services. What is meant by the word legal service, Advice, consultancy, assistance in any branch of law, it is known as legal service. Advice, consultancy, assistance in any branch of law, it is known as legal service. Advice, consultancy, assistance in any branch of law, it is known as legal service. Okay, Advice means informal way. Consultancy means formal way. Assistance means physical involvement. If any of these things are there with respect to law, advice, informal. Consultancy, professional way. And third one, assistance, physical involvement in the case. Physical involvement in the case. In all these cases, it is known as legal service. In all these cases, it is legal service. Who will provide these legal services? Advocates. Technically, there is a difference between lawyer and advocate. Practicing lawyer is known as advocate, but here I am using it as synonym. Okay. But whereas in practical life, there is a difference between lawyer and advocate. But for the sake of easy understanding, I am using the word lawyer only. Okay. So who will provide these legal services? Junior lawyer, senior lawyer, and partnership firm of lawyers will provide this service. And who is the recipient? Business entity. Then only RCM is applicable. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. For example, let's take the example of Mr. NRI. Mr. NRI unfortunately qualified the CA. NRI unfortunately qualified CA. After that, 1 year happily he spent his life. After that, he just want to do the suicide. Generally, suicide is a crime in India. But if you want to do it legally, there is a mechanism for that. That legal mechanism to commit the suicide is known as. Got the point? You don't get the point still? Suicide area, sir. Okay, fine. So there is a mechanism to commit the legal suicide in India. That legal mechanism is known as marriage. Okay. So Mr. NRI now just want to get married. So at the same time, we all there. I just actually warned Mr. NRI. No, please don't do that. But he used a Telugu word. నేను మీ లెక్క కాదు కంట్రోల్ చేయట మస్తు తెలుసు ఓకే అండ్ we all actually put that particular video there okay and after 1 year he just again came to me no sir I just want the peace of mind so I just gave him a lawyer number and asked him to meet him so he's able to make arrangement for the divorce between even Adipurush and Sita also fine so that means the movie that is going to be released on 16th, Adipurush, yes. So just Mr. NRI approached that particular lawyer and got the peace of mind what is required. The question arises here, in this particular case, FCM applicable, RCM applicable. Issue is with respect to NRI, that's why you need to say the answer. In this case, FCM applicable, RCM applicable. FCM or RCM, FCM only, so you look so happy after getting the peace of mind. I think you did not get the point there still. That is the, okay, fine. Okay. Generally, please use it to take complaint. Complaint is actually must for the people who just want to get the thing what I told you. Complaint తీసుకుంటే ఎదిగే పిల్లలకి మంచిది. So that is the thing you need to do. Then definitely you can do the thing what I told you. Okay. Now let's come to the point here, whether it is FCM or RCM. Why it is FCM? Mr. NRI is individual for personal use. But whereas who can be the recipient there? Business entity is the recipient. Then only what will be applicable? RCM. He is Mr. NRI is individual and he is taking the legal service for his personal use. In that case, FCM or RCM? FCM. Let's take the example that Mr. NRI is running a marriage bureau. NRI marriage bureau, it is named as. And legal services was obtained. In that case, FCM or RCM? Why RCM in this case? Because NRI marriage bureau comes under business entity. If at all it is a business entity, then only RCM. If the recipient is any person other than business entity, in those cases, what will be applicable, ma? FCM will be applicable. If the recipient is business entity, then only RCM is applicable, ma. Rest of the cases, FCM will be applicable. Sir, CS also can provide legal services. Is it possible? CS also can do the legal service. Okay, up to which extent we can go? Up to tribunal only. Up to tribunals, a CA can do the legal service, ma. But with respect to High Court or Supreme Court, only lawyers are eligible to take up the case. Or CS are not eligible for that. Generally, the hierarchy will be first additional commissioner or joint commissioner appeals will be there. If we lost the case, commissioner appeals will be there.
Recording stopped.
What is this here? For this also you are responsible. Fine. So what is the third one? After commissioner appeal, tribunal will be there. After tribunal, High Court. After tribunal, so High Court, after High Court, Supreme Court. This is a hierarchy, ma. We can go up to the tribunal, ma. But whereas with respect to High Court and Supreme Court, we don't have the right to appear before the High Court or Supreme Court. Those things are reserved only for lawyers. Okay. But if at all CS providing any legal service, in that case FCM applicable, RCM applicable? FCM. Because CS are not notified under here. Only lawyers are notified under RCM. If the CS are providing any legal service, FCM or RCM? Definitely FCM. And third one, who is the supplier, ma? Arbitral Tribunal. Who is the supplier, ma? Arbitral Tribunal. Who is the recipient? Business
Recording in
entity.
progress.
So, in that case, FCM or RCM? What is meant by the word arbitration, first of all? Mr. Ravi, what is meant by the word arbitration? Generally, in general English, please. Anything? What is meant by the word arbitration, ma? Settlement of a civil case outside the court through a legal process, it is known as arbitration. Yes, ma'am, that is the right thing now you said to me. Okay. So what is meant by the word arbitration, ma'am? Settlement of a civil case outside the court through a legal process, it is known as arbitration. Generally with respect to small cases, lok adalat. Whereas with respect to somewhat bigger cases, a private tribunal will be formed. And if at all this particular tribunal is providing service to the business entity, then RCM is applicable. Let's take the example, Mr. NRI, do you remember the case between Samsung and Apple? No? Do you know the case is there between Apple and Samsung? with respect to copyrights case? It was resolved. Do you know that? In which year? 2020 it happened. Okay. With respect to Apple, Apple put a case on Samsung that Samsung is actually violating the copyright provisions. Because Samsung is a copycat. It is actually copying the format and whatever the App Store features that are there. That's why Apple put a case on Samsung for the violation of copyrights. Okay, and the Samsung settled the case outside the court in the year 2020 by paying some $1 million. I can't remember the amount. By paying some $1 million, Samsung settled the case outside the court. If at all it happened in India, let us assume like that. FCM applicable, RCM applicable. RCM. Why ma? Supplier Orbital Tribunal, recipient business entity, in that case FCM or RCM? RCM. Who is liable to pay the GST ma? Recipient is liable to pay the GST. Next one, sponsorship services, supplier any person, recipient body corporate or partnership firm, then RCM, other cases FCM. Sponsorship services, let's take the example of Virat. Who is the sponsor for Virat? Mr. Ravi? Anushka Sharma? No, not like that. MRF, no? MRF. On badge, still MRF is there, as far as I remember. Still MRF is there, na? Okay, fine. So let us assume that who is providing service to whom here? Virat to MRF or MRF to Virat? Who is providing service to whom? Virat to MRF or MRF to Virat? Virat to MRF. MRF is paying the consideration, and that's why Virat is displaying the MRF logo on his badge. Who is the supplier? Any person, Virat. And who is the recipient? MRF, which is a body corporate. Therefore, RCM applicable, FCM applicable, RCM. As per RCM, who is liable to pay the GST? Recipient is liable to pay the GST. Okay, ma. Sponsorship services, supplier any person, recipient body corporate or partnership firm. In that case, FCM or RCM, ma. RCM is applicable, recipient is liable to pay the GST. That is the fourth one. And fifth one, who is the supplier? Government. And ignore this point. This is not needed for you. Point A is not needed. So who is the recipient? Business entity. In that case, what will be applicable, ma? RCM will be applicable. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. So supplier is government. Recipient is business entity.
Recording stopped.
What is this here? Okay. Who is the supplier, ma? Government. Who is the recipient, ma? Business entity. In that case, FCM or RCM? RCM. Okay. The question is here, what are the services generally the government will do to the business entity? Any example with respect to that? What is it? Government grant. Grant is not a service. BBIT. BBMP. BBIT. Karnataka, what it is? What it will do? Okay. Government, okay. Roads, it will do the services. Okay, maybe. I don't know actually what it is. So, I think it may be. Any other services, ma? Okay. Okay. Mr. NRI, do you ever met two famous persons? One is Vijay Mallya and second one is Nirav Modi. Met them there in foreign? In India you met them? Okay. That means those are your friends. So you're also there in that particular scam. Okay. So whereas with respect to those two persons, generally want to start a crash course in India. They just want to start a crash course in India. And it is named as How to Fool the Banks. The crash course name is How to Fool the Banks. Okay. Because those two persons fooled the banks now. Whereas Vijay Mallya has took some loans and he just ran away from India. And whereas Nirav Modi utilized the letter of credits. In FM, financial management, the word letter of credit will be there now. It can be obtained from the bank by misutilizing it some 11,000 crores. Nirav Modi, 11,000 crores now approximately. He took that particular money, ran away to UK or US, ma? UK. UK, fine. So those two people returned to India and want to start a crash course on how to fool the banks. But whereas if they just started that type of course, the bankers will throw tomatoes and eggs on them. That's why they just approached the Mumbai Police Commissioner and officially he took 12 lakhs and provided security for the Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi and co. The question arises here, is it a service? Yes, it is a security service that is provided by the government there. Security service that is provided by the government there. Okay. So, government will do these services officially. Award functions. The police department will not come to see the film actors there. Those people will be asked to come. Further, the show organizers need to pay some amount. Even ex-MLA, ex-MP are needed to pay some amount to maintain the gunmens. Then only they are able to maintain the gunmens. As long as you are MP or MLA, then only gunmens will be provided free of cost. But whereas rest of the cases, you need to pay the amount in order to maintain the gunmens. All these things are security services now. That is government is providing. These are taxable under FCM or under RCM. Definitely it is taxable under RCM. And in the same way, firecracker license. In order to start the firecrackers company, you need to get the license. Firecracker license. That one is also service provided to business entity. And apart from that, some certification works, tenders. With respect to tenders, government will not do the service. No? Other party will provide the service to the government. Which items? Auction. Generally, tenders are called for. In those cases, who can be the supplier? Is it government? No. Here, if the supplier is government, then only the RCM is applicable. Rest of the cases, RCM will not be applicable. Okay. So in any other... roads is not a service that is specifically provided to any person. Renting is separately given. Next point. Apart from renting, these type of services, certification works, some security services, spectrum license. Yes, spectrum license. That can also be a supply of service by the government to the business entity. So those things are covered under RCM and recipient is liable to pay the GST. And the next point is renting of immovable property by the government. Renting of immovable property by the government. Any example for renting of immovable property by the government? Guntur Mirchiad. Okay, in Guntur, Mirchiad is there. Mr. NRA, know about the Mirchiad you? Mirchiad. It is the biggest one in the Asia. Not in India, ma. Total in Asia, it is the biggest one. Do you know what the people will do in Mirchiad generally? Do you know market yard? No, not listen to that word. Okay, Mirchiad or market yard generally it is a place where the farmers and the merchants will meet. And the place belongs to government. That place is known as market yard. Mirchiad means, well, as the name indicates, mirch sellers and mirch farmers will meet at a particular place. That place is known as Mirchiad. It is Asia's biggest one. Hundreds of shops will be there and in acres it will be there. If you route Nalapad, మలపాడు రూటే కదా ఓకే తెలియదులే మనవాడికి అసలు తెలియదు అది ఫస్ట్ కేమ్ టు ఇండియా ఫర్ క్రాష్ ఓన్లీ ఆర్ డోంట్ నో ఈవెన్ గుంటూరు ఆల్సో ఐ థింక్ ఓన్లీ బ్రాడీపేట్ యూ నో that is Bradipet, this area means. Okay, this is area you know. Are you able to adjust to the climate? Desert? Okay, Arab countries. Okay, నేను ఇంకా యూఎస్ అనుకుంటున్నాను ఇంత క్లైమేట్ ఎలానా అని ఓకే మనకన్నా ఎక్కువే ఉంటుంది వీళ్ళకి so much hot na in comparison with this climate. Okay, sweating is more here. Yeah. So 60-70 degrees is there. Even 50 only. Okay, so more than 50 it will not be there in summer generally. So anytime when the cross is more than 50, no. Okay, మనకి ఎక్కువ కదరా ఈ లెక్కన almost 40, 48, 49 in AP some places are there. Okay, మంది చాలా ఆర్టిస్ట్ అయితే ఈ లెక్కన కానీ నేను వీళ్ళకి చాలా 60-70 ఉంటుంది అనుకున్నాను నేను ఫైన్ ఐ థాట్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇట్ విల్ బి 60-70 సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్ ఇన్ యువర్ ప్లేస్ అంటే ద క్లైమ్ అంటే వాళ్ళ తగ్గట్టుగా లోపల ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ ఉంటుందేమో అనుకున్నాను అరబ్ కంట్రీస్లో అంటే 6 ఇంచుల ఎండలు ఉంటాయి అనుకున్నాను నేను ఐ జస్ట్ థాట్ ఇన్ సచ్ వే దట్ ఇన్ అరబ్ కంట్రీస్ సమ్ 60-70 temperature will be there in summer, so it is not like that. Just like this only the temperature will be there. Okay, fine. So with respect to the renting of immovable property, who can be the supplier? Government. Like Guntur Mirchat, shops will be given to the registered person. If at all recipient is a registered person, then only RCM is applicable. Rest of the cases FCM will be applicable. Let's say vegetable markets are there na? Vegetable markets, fruit market, fish market. With respect to shops generally belongs to Guntur municipality. With respect to that, what is the position? Who can be the recipient? Generally unregistered persons. రైతు బజార్లో ఉండే వాళ్ళందరూ the people who will be there in vegetable market will be farmers only. Generally those people will be unregistered only. If the recipient is unregistered, then FCM or RCM? FCM. If the recipient is a registered one, then only what will be applicable? FCM will be applicable. That is the point. And next one is directorship services. Supplier is director and recipient is company or body corporate. In that case, RCM, recipient is liable to pay the GST. Supplier, director. And who can be the recipient? Company or body corporate. In that case, what will be applicable? RCM. Say Mukesh Ambani to Reliance Industries, RCM. In that, who is liable to pay the GST? Recipient is liable to pay the GST. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. Okay, say for example, directors can be divided into two types: executive directors, non-executive directors. Executive directors means, as per your company law, they are treated as employees of the company. If at all they are treated as employees of the company, it comes under salary but not under remuneration. Yes, that one point is very important. That's why I asked you to read it now. Completed reading now? Yes, so nice. Okay. So directors can be divided into two types. Executive directors, non-executive directors. With respect to executive directors, they are treated as employees of the company. Whatever the amount you paid to the employees of the company, it comes under salaries, your income tax. There is no need to pay any GST on it. If it only is a non-executive director, and you need to check under which section the TDS was
Recording in
directed.
progress.
Okay, fine. So with respect to non-executive directors, based on which section the TDS was deducted? If at all the TDS is going to be deducted as per section 192, in that case it comes under salaries, there is no need to pay any GST. Whereas the TDS is going to be deducted as per section 194J, in that case definitely it comes under professional services, and you are liable to pay the GST. That is the point we need to remember. Okay. So, if it all is executive director, like whole-time director, managing director, like that, then whatever the remuneration that is paid to him will be treated as salary only. On that, there will not be any GST. But if at all it is paid to the non-executive director and depends upon then the TDS in which way, under which section the TDS was deducted. If the TDS was deducted as per section 192, then what is the position, ma? If TDS was deducted as per section 192, what is the position, ma, in that case? సర్లే రెండింటికి గెలుపు మొన్నటి చెల్లి ఆ ఈసారి దొరికితే మళ్ళీ ఫైన్ ఓకే Okay, fine, ma. So with respect to this point, ma, non-executive director, then in that case, a TDS is going to be deducted as per section 192, comes under salaries, ma, income tax. If the TDS is going to be deducted as per section 184J, then GST will be levied. What about the sitting fee? Sitting fee is not the sitting fee that you will pay for Saturdays, ma. Board meetings, the point is here. So with respect to that, those points, ma, in that case, what is the position here? With respect to sitting fee will not be treated as a part of remuneration. Sitting fee will not be treated as part of remuneration. In those cases, what is the position, ma? Definitely GST will be paid. If at all it is a sitting fee as per your company law will not be treated as part of salary. Therefore, to whom the sitting fee is paid, it is immaterial. Always it is liable to GST. That is the point. This point remembers. TDS deducted under 192, salaries, no GST. TDS deducted 194J, RCM. It comes under TDS, GST. And director sitting fee, see this, RCM. That means to whosoever the amount is paid, this sitting fee will not be treated as part of the salary, as per your company law, not GST. Therefore, definitely on this there will not be any GST, there is no need to pay that. Sorry, definitely there will be a GST under RCM, you are liable to pay that. And whole-time employees, then that means whole-time director or full-time director, then the amount will be treated as salary. On that there will not be no GST. Next one is agency services, ma. General insurance agent to insurance company, recovery agent to bank. In these cases, who is liable to pay the GST, ma? Recipient insurance company or bank is liable to pay the GST. If you observe, ma, one point under RCM, general RCM concept is applicable in three cases. If the supplier is from unorganized sector, if the supplier is an individual, if the supplier is government. In those three cases only the concept of RCM is applicable. If you observe, RCM concept is applicable in three circumstances. First one, if the supplier is unorganized sector is therein, and if the supplier is an individual, and the supplier is government. You can check the previous points also. See, first one GTA, unorganized sector, lorry business. That's why RCM was applicable. Second one, legal service. Who is the supplier? Individual. That's why RCM was applicable. Third one, Orbital Tribunal. Unorganized one, private entities. That's why RCM. Next, sponsorship, individual. Fifth one, supplier. Who is the supplier there? Government. 5A, renting of immovable property. Who is the supplier? Government. And directorship. Who is the supplier? Director, individual. And in this point, insurance agent and recovery agent, individuals. That is the point, ma. Generally, in three cases, the concept of RCM will be applicable. If the supplier is unorganized, if the supplier is individual, if the supplier is government itself. In all these three cases, the concept of RCM will be applicable. That is the point you need to remember. Okay. And next one, music composer to the music company, photographer or artist to the producer. In those cases also RCM is applicable. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. So music composer to music company, like DSP or Taman to Aditya Music or Lahari Music. In that case, what will be applicable, ma? FCM applicable or RCM applicable? Definitely RCM will be applicable. Who is liable to pay the GST? Music company Aditya or Lahari Music is liable to pay the GST. Photographer or artist to the producer. That means with respect to Triple R movie, Mr. NRI, do you know Triple R movie? Who is the hero? ఎవరంట ఇప్పుడు నేను అడిగిన ట్రిపుల్ ఆర్ మూవీ కదరా చిరంజీవి బాలయ్య బాబు so it just went to the Oscar also na do you know that Triple R movie went for you did not know about any Indian movies okay ma so photographer or artist to the producer ma in that case with respect to Triple R movie the Ram Charan or Junior India Rajmouli all these people will provide the service to the DVV Danaya okay in that case who is the recipient ma producer is liable to pay the GST next one author to the publisher means let's say Robert Greene is one of the other. He just wrote the book 48 Laws of Power, not with respect to our CMA, generalized book, general book. 48 Laws of Power, the book name is. Okay, and Robert Greene is the person who wrote that particular book. In that case, what is the position, ma? Supplier, author of the book, individual, recipient is the publisher. That's why RCM is applicable. But in this case, there are two options. One is FCM, second one is RCM. If you want to follow the FCM, what is the rate of tax, ma? 12% with IDC. If he wants to follow the RCM, then what is the rate of tax, ma? 5% without IDC. 2 points are there. One is 12% with IDC. Second one is 5% without IDC. If you want to follow FCM, one rate. Not like in GTA. Only one rate will be there. 12% with IDC. FCM. If you want to follow RCM, 5% without IDC. That the option is there to the author of the book. Okay. But in order to follow the FCM, these are the conditions that are required to be satisfied. Supplier should be a registered person and he should intimate the matter to the commissioner. Third one, once the scheme was selected, whether it is FCM or RCM, it shall not be withdrawn for a period of 1 year. First one, author should be a registered one. Second one, he should give intimation to the commissioner that he is willing to pay the GST under FCM. Third one, once the scheme was selected, he shall not withdraw it for a period of 1 year. If all these 3 points are satisfied, then FCM. If any one of these conditions are not satisfied, in those cases, what will be applicable, ma? RCM will be applicable. So up to this point, check it once, ma. Generally with respect to RCM, there is no need to mug up. Because with respect to chapter number 3, only analytical questions will be asked, ma. No direct theory question will be asked on RCM. So there is no need to mug up those things. Just look at them. Any doubt is there in this particular part, you can ask me. I will wait for some 2 to 3 minutes, ma. So Ravi can check it once, ma. Up to this point, what we have discussed, any doubts are there, you can ask me. Generally, that nothing will be there. Only the legal services they will provide. Naam ke vaste it was given like that. Practically, no, nothing will be there under FCM. Generally, that's why I told you only three things now. Unorganized, individual, government. If supplier falls under any of these three, then you can go for RCM. If the supplier is not there, then automatically FCM is applicable. As simple as that. You cannot put some what we can say, some random words. Definitely it is we can't put them because almost 16 points are there. Here also, another points are also there here also. So you cannot put all them together. So that's why this is the way how we can remember. Supplier unorganized, individual, and what is the third one? Government. In those cases only RCM. Rest of the cases FCM. See this here also. Members of overseeing committee. What is meant by the word overseeing committee, ma'am? In order to find out the NPS, non-performing assets, and the speedy recovery of money from them, the overseeing committee was formed by RBI. Who are the members of overseeing committee, ma'am? Individuals. That's why what is the concept that is applicable there? RCM. Who is liable to pay the GST there? Recipient RBI is liable to pay the GST. In the same way, marketing agents with respect to the banks. Who is the supplier? Individual direct selling agents. In those cases, who is liable to pay the GST? Recipient bank or NBFC is liable to pay the GST. If at all those direct selling agents are body corporates or partnership firms, in those cases FCM or RCM, what will be applicable? FCM. Why ma? If the supplier is partnership firm or body corporate and not individual, in those cases there is no need to apply the RCM. In those cases, what will be applicable, ma? FCM will be applicable. That is the point. Okay, ma. And next one, these two are not required. Ignore them. These two are not there, ma. Not required. Ignore them. Next one is business facilitator to bank. In that case also, bank is liable to pay the GST. Who is business facilitator? The person who will create the awareness in relation to the bank and mobilize the deposits. Mobilize the deposits and opening of bank accounts. All these things will be done by one person there. That one person is known as business facilitator. What is meant by the word business facilitator, ma? The person who will facilitate the business, who will create awareness in relation to the banking. That person is known as business facilitator. Here also, business facilitator is an individual. If it is an individual, in those cases, what will be applicable, ma? RCM is applicable. Next one, business correspondent. What is meant by the word business correspondent? Business facilitator plus loan facility is equal to business correspondent. Whatever the things generally the business facilitator do, all those things will be done by this business correspondent also. Along with that, up to a small amount of 10,000, just like Dwakra loans, up to 10,000, he may give loans also. That person is known as business correspondent. So business facilitator plus loan facility is equal to business correspondent. In maximum cases, he will be artificial person. That's why there must be somebody to represent it. So who is the supplier? Agent. Who is the recipient? Business correspondent. In that case, who is liable to pay the GST? Business correspondent. Why ma? Agent comes under individual. That's why in this case also what will be applicable, ma? RCM is applicable. Business correspondent is liable to pay the GST. Next one, security services. With respect to security services, ma, supplier any person other than body corporate. Recipient is the registered one. In those cases, recipient is liable to pay the GST. Security services means ma, ATM security guard, bouncers, bodyguards that are provided to celebrities. All these things comes under this security services, ma. So supplier should be any person other than body corporate. That means unorganized. And recipient is registered person. Let's take the example that security services are provided to Salman Khan. What is Sherana, famous this bodyguard name, that generally will pay some 1 crore or something like that for the bodyguard itself. Shera, the bodyguard name is, he runs an international agency. He's providing securities to so many celebrities. Okay, he's having the consultancy. So here who is the supplier? Any person other than body corporate. And who is the recipient? Salman is a registered person, ma. Because acting comes under profession. Profession is a business activity. If at all your turnover exceeds 20 lakhs, you are liable to pay the GST. Salman Khan will take some 5 to 10 crores per movie. So automatic, yes, na? 5 to 10 crores he will take, na? 100 crores, 500 crores per movie. Crores. So definitely turnover is more than 20 lakhs then. Turnover is more than 20 lakhs, na? Then he shall be liable or not liable, ba? Liable for registration. Then Mr. Salman is a registered person. If Mr. Salman is a registered person, then RCM or MCM? As per RCM, Mr. Salman is liable to pay the GST. If the supplier is a body corporate, in that case, what will be applicable, ma? FCM, because body corporate is organized. In that case, what will be applicable? FCM or RCM? FCM. Next one. Renting of motor vehicle designed to carry the passengers, ma? Supplier, any person other than body corporate. Recipient is the body corporate. In that case, what is applicable, ma? RCM is applicable. Body corporate is liable to pay the GST. Let's say I am having a travels car with me. I have given the travels car to Infosys to drop and pick up its employees. In this case, who is the supplier? Any person other than body corporate. Who is the recipient? Infosys, which is a body corporate. In that case, FCM or RCM? RCM. As per RCM, who is liable to pay the GST? The Infosys is liable to pay the GST. But here also two options are there. 1%, one point, FCM can be followed. Second one, RCM can be followed. If at all you want to follow the FCM, the rate of tax is 12% with IDC. If you want to follow the RCM, the rate of tax will be 5% without IDC. That is the point. If the supplier is a body corporate, then what will be applicable among FCM or RCM? FCM. And lender of securities means lender to the borrower. Shares, generally short sale will be there, na? Generally what you will do, first you will purchase the share, later on you will sell it. But whereas under bearish market, initially we will sell them, later on we will purchase it. So in that case, when you sell the shares, you need to borrow the shares and give it to the other party. The person who is giving you the shares is known as lender of the shares, ma. The person who is receiving those shares is known as borrower of the shares. In that case, who is liable to pay the GST, ma? Borrower of the shares is liable to pay the GST. And last one, renting of residential building. Dwelling means building. Supplier, any person. Recipient is a registered one. In those cases, RCM is applicable. Recipient is liable to pay the GST. That means, let's take the example of rent-free accommodation provided to employees. In order to provide the rent-free accommodation, company has to take a house on rental basis. Na? Who is the supplier? Any person. Who is the recipient? Company. The building will be in the name of the company and the employee will stay in that particular house. Yes or no? In that case, who will take that particular building on rental basis? Company. Company is the registered person or not? Yes. In that case, FCM or RCM? RCM. As per RCM, who is liable to pay the GST? Recipient is liable to pay the GST. There ends the matter with respect to RCM. Have a look at it. Any doubt is there in RCM, you can ask me. The simple point you need to remember is only three things. Supplier is unorganized, supplier is individual, supplier is government. In those three cases, RCM concept will be applicable. Check it once, ma. Any doubts are there, you can ask me. Recipient is to get himself registered, ma, under GST law, and he need to pay, just like in which way the supplier will pay. Supplier generally, directly will pay to the government. Registration you need to take, and once registration was taken, you can log into the GST website. Thereby, you can pay the GST by entering the how much amount of tax you need to pay. A DSC signature, ma, that one is not required for the payment. DRC 03. No, DRC 03, no, it's PMT 09 or 07. That is the challan. you need to use for payment. PMT 09 or 07 in both of them, not DRC. Okay. PMT 0. PMT denotes payment. Any other ma? Yes, ma'am. That's it for today. We'll see the remaining ones in the next session. And 9.5, we need to see what does 9.5 deals with ECO. What is meant by the word ECO, ma? E-commerce operator. He is nothing but an aggregator, ma. What is meant by the word aggregator? He is neither the supplier nor the recipient, but brings both supplier and recipient onto a common platform, either by using mobile app or website. That particular person is known as ECO. ECO means an aggregator. What is meant by the word aggregator, ma? He is neither the supplier nor the recipient, but brings both supplier and recipient onto a common platform, either by using mobile application or website. That particular person is known as ECO. Example for that is Ola. He is neither the driver nor the passenger, but brings both driver and passenger onto a common platform, either by using mobile app or website. If it already is there, then that particular person is known as ECO, e-commerce operator. Another example for ECO is Amazon. He is neither the seller nor the buyer, but brings both seller and buyer onto a common platform, either by using mobile application or website. That particular person is known as e-commerce operator. So that means each and every ECO is covered under 9.5. Answer is no, ma. Only 4 types of ECOs are covered. 4 types of ECOs are covered here. What are those 4 types of ECOs that are covered, ma? We will see now. Initially there will be 3 only. First one, transportation of passengers by a radio taxi, motor car, maxi cab and motorcycle. What is meant by this transportation of passengers ECO, ma? Any example with respect to that? Ola, Uber, Rapido, Bounce, all these are the examples for the ECOs for which the transportation of passengers by a radio taxi. Okay, ma. So it's a transportation of passengers. The point is here, what is meant by the word radio taxi, ma? What is meant by the word radio taxi? Two-way GPS tracking is there. That is known as radio taxi. That means if you book a cab on Uber, then your location will be known to the driver and driver location will be known to you. This is called two-way GPS tracking. This two-way GPS tracking is known as, if at all it is there in a particular taxi, it is known as radio taxi. Motor car, up to 6 members. Maxi cab, 6 to 12 members. Motorcycle, minimum 1, max 2. These are the people that can accommodate. Okay. Then if at all any ECOs who are providing this particular service, in that case, who is liable to pay the GST? ECO is liable to pay the GST. And next one, accommodation for lodging or residential purpose in the hotel, inn, guest house, etc. Hotel, inn, guest house, accommodation services, ECOs example, ma? Make my trip, Trivago. Yes, ma. Okay, those things. Generally, these are the ECOs who are actually covered here. And housekeeping services such as plumbers, carpenters, etc. With respect to that, who is the ECO that is covered there? Urban Company. Previously, it is known as Urban Clap. Now it is converted into Urban Company. These people will provide you the plumbers, carpenters, electricians, even the toilet cleaners are also there. Housekeeping, whatever the service in relation to the household, all those services will be available in Urban Company, ma. Okay. With respect to that, any accommodation for lodging or residential purpose, housekeeping services. With respect to them, If the supplier is a registered person, supplier himself will pay the GST. If the supplier is an unregistered person, in that case, ECO is liable to pay the GST. If supplier is a registered person, supplier will pay the GST. If the supplier is an unregistered person, in that case, ECO is liable to pay the GST. Take the, for example, by using the Make My Trip mobile app, we just booked a hotel room, booked a room in Mata Lodge. Mata Lodge. It is there near State Bank of India. Our SBI campus is there. Na? Besides it, one booth bungalow is there. So, so with respect to that, generally it is that name is not known to anybody. Our SBI campus and stationery shop, in between them there is one lodge. Its name is Mata Lodge. Okay. So definitely, what is the position in that case? Is it known to anybody? No. Is it registered? No. In that case, who is liable to pay the GST? Make My Trip. ECO is liable to pay the GST. If by using the same app, if at all, we just booked a hotel room in Hotel Taj. In that case, Hotel Taj is registered or unregistered? Registered. In that case, who will pay the GST? Hotel Taj itself will pay the GST. That is the point. Okay, ma. So, if the supplier is a registered person, supplier himself will pay the GST. If the supplier is an unregistered person, then ECO will pay the GST. And a new amendment from your attempt onwards, the point is food aggregators are also covered here. Food aggregator means Zomato, Swiggy. With respect to them, with respect to restaurants, food aggregators is liable to pay the GST. But whereas with respect to the hotels, it depends upon room tariff in the hotel. If the room tariff in the hotel is less than or equal to 7,500, food aggregators like Zomato, Swiggy are liable to pay the GST. If the room tariff is more than 7,500, in that case, hotel itself is liable to pay the GST. With respect to the restaurants, always food aggregators will pay the GST. Whereas with respect to the hotel, it depends upon room tariff. Room tariff is less than or equal to 7,500, then ECO is liable to pay the GST. If the room tariff is more than 7,500, then hotel itself will pay the GST. That is the point you need to remember. Okay, ma'am. And with respect to ECO here, ECO is located, that means ECO is liable to pay the GST. Now, in that case, what is the point? If the ECO is located in the taxable territory, if the ECO is located in the taxable territory, then who will pay the GST, ma'am? ECO. Located in the taxable territory means physical presence is there in India. Like certificate of incorporation is there in India. In that case, like Make My Trip, Indian company. Make My Trip is an Indian company. And I think Ola is also Indian company. Redbus, Abhibus, those are also actually Indian companies. With respect to them, the physical presence is there in India. In that case, obviously, they will pay the GST. If at all physical presence is not there in India, then his authorized representative will pay the GST, like Uber. It is not an Indian company. And in that case, there must be some authorized representative will be there in India, like some marketing director or operational head. Some post will be there. That authorized representative will pay the GST. If the ECO has neither the physical presence nor the authorized representative, in that case, it must appoint any person to pay the GST. Otherwise, it cannot continue the business. If the ECO physical presence is there in India, ECO will pay the GST. If the ECO physical presence is not there in India, his authorized representative will pay the GST. Neither the physical presence nor the authorized representative, in that case, who is liable to pay the GST, ma? They must appoint any person to pay the GST, otherwise they cannot continue the business. That is the point, ma. This is 9.5. Put the heading and please copy this. Any doubt is there, you can ask me meanwhile. Tariff, rent, ma. The rent that is printed in the catalog. Room tariff means room rent per day. It will be printed, na, that printed amount. Online students, any doubts ma with respect to 9.5? Today, from today onwards, we're having the visibility of the chat box because you provided with us a device that is a phone. So from now onwards, if at all you're having with respect to the subject, you can post it out in the chat box ma. Thereby the faculty is able to clarify your doubts. Okay, ma'am. So can we proceed to the next one? So after completion of 9.5, we need to see section 10, ma'am, which deals with composition scheme. What is meant by the word composition scheme, ma'am? It is a scheme that is designed for the small scale industries, cottage industries. What is the benefit generally the composition dealer will get here, ma'am? A very much lower rate of tax he will get. That means, what is the highest rate of GST, ma? What is the highest rate of GST at present? 28%. If at all you are eligible for this composition scheme, then you will pay GST as low as 1%. That much lower rate of tax you will pay. And in this particular section 10, we are going to discuss about who are the persons that are eligible for this particular composition scheme. Is there any conditions that are required to be satisfied? Who are the persons that are ineligible for this composition scheme? How many types of composition schemes are there? All these things we are going to discuss in this particular section 10, ma. Initially, the composition schemes are of two types, ma. One is normal composition scheme under section 10. Second one is concessional rate scheme under section 10 2A. Concessional scheme under 10 2A. Okay. So with respect to this normal scheme under section 10 and concessional rate scheme under 10 2A, initially we will start with normal scheme under section 10 1 ma. Initially we will discuss about that one. Later on we will move to the second part. Okay. So whether it is optional scheme or mandatory. Normal scheme under section 10 1, is it mandatory or optional? Definitely it is optional. Why it is optional, ma? That much lower rate of tax is there, na? Then why it is optional? Because if you want to go for composition scheme, you cannot claim the ITC. One benefit was given to you. At the same time, one benefit will be gone. The benefit you will lost is ITC. And the benefit you will get is lower rate of tax. That is the thing we need to remember. That is the thing we need to remember. Okay. So that's why this scheme is optional one, ma. That's why this scheme is optional one. So if you want to go for composition scheme, you cannot get the ITC. If you want the ITC, you cannot get the composition scheme. Okay, ma. So, whereas with respect to this point, ma, here, is it mandatory or optional one, ma? Definitely it is. Okay, your choice, you can maintain it. If ever you feel something, checking it. That's why this scheme is optional one, ma. That's why this particular scheme is optional one. If you want to go for composition, you cannot claim the ITC, ma. So if you want to get the ITC, you cannot go for composition scheme. That is the point. Second one, who are the eligible persons for this scheme? Generally, business people can be divided into three types, ma, generally. Manufacturer, trader, and service provider. Any business you will do, it fall under any of these three categories: manufacturer, trader, and service provider. Who are the persons that are eligible for this normal composition scheme? Is manufacturer eligible? Yes, except notified goods. Except notified goods manufacturers. Rest of all the manufacturers are eligible for this composition scheme. Okay, ma. Sir, what are those notified goods where the manufacturers are not eligible with respect to that? Ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated water, and along with that another three is also there by amendment. Building bricks, fly ash bricks, and roofing tiles. Total 7 points are there at present. Those notified 7 goods manufacturers are not eligible for this composition scheme, except that rest of the manufacturers are eligible for this composition scheme. Who are the persons that are not eligible, ma? Manufacturer of notified goods. What are those notified goods, ma? Ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated water, building bricks, fly ash bricks, roofing tiles. These are the 7. Sir, pan masala, tobacco, okay. So they will do some harm to the health. That's why they may not be eligible. And aerated water, nothing but soda, club soda, Kimbe soda, whatever the soda it is. Generally, you will use it, no? I think you will have a better idea with respect to it. No? It will be, na? Right? So with respect to that, ma, aerated water comes under soda, etc. Carbonated water. Generally, it may also damage the health. That's why it may not be eligible. What about this ice cream? Why it is not eligible? Kaiku, why? Because we will mix it. Okay, I did not try it by mixing it, but it is okay, but not that much with good taste. I tried everything, ma, with respect to that. Yeah, so I tried everything. So, okay, that means those are the experiments we need to do in the society. Yes, ma, ice cream with fruit salad, what I am talking about. You are also the same thing, na, that is asking me. Okay, then that is okay. But it does not taste good. Yes, ma, anything other than that? Why ice cream was excluded? What can be the reason with respect to that? What the major raw material with respect to ice cream will be milk, ma. That's milk is already agro-based, it is exempted. If at all it was brought within the scope of this composition scheme, the government will not get much revenue. That's why what is the position, ma? This particular ice cream was excluded. What about building bricks, roofing tiles, and fly ash bricks? Building bricks is nothing but a normal bricks, ma, that will be there in red color, na? Those things are building bricks. Those things, itukurai in Telugu. And whereas fly ash bricks means cement bricks. Cement bricks we will call them. And the third one is roofing tiles. Generally for the roofs in olden days, for houses it will be there, and when villages still they are used. In Telugu, penkulu. Fine. Penkutillu. Penkulu. So those are the things, roofing tiles. Generally for them the major raw material is clay itself. The major raw material will be clay, na? So that's why with respect to them also they are not eligible for this composition scheme. Except those 7 cases, rest of the cases, the manufacturers are eligible for this composition scheme. Sir, what about the traders? All the traders are eligible. Keep it in mind, ice cream manufacturer is not eligible. Ice cream trader is eligible. Let's say Arun Ice Creams manufacturer not eligible for composition scheme. Whereas this Ibaco, my favorite ice cream parlor. And whereas in 4th line, what is this? Ice Park. 4th line, Ice Park is there, na? That Ice Park. Ice parlor, that is also ice cream, and Lakshmipuram, Creamstone is there. And whereas in Aranapet 4th line, Iceberg, 4th line, Aranapet 4th line, previously it was there in 14th line also it is there. I think now it was shifted to 4th line, na? Iceberg is also there in 14th line actually, near M&M. Now it was closed M&M showroom, but board is there, big building. Now nearest one also ice cream parlor is there. Okay, so all these ice cream parlors that will be there with respect to them, they are eligible or not eligible, ma? Definitely they are eligible for this composition scheme. Ice cream manufacturers are not eligible, but traders are eligible. Okay. And next one is service providers. Sir, what about the service providers? Are they eligible for this normal composition scheme under section 10(1)? Answer is no. This normal composition scheme is designed for the supplier of the goods, but not for the supplier of service. Normal composition scheme under section 10(1) is designed for supplier of the goods only, but not for the supplier of service. But the one and only service that was eligible was restaurant service. Generally, this 10(1) is designed only for the supplier of the goods. This 10(1) is designed only for the supplier of the goods, and this is not designed for supplier of service. So, with respect to that, what is the position? The one and only service that was eligible will be restaurant service for this 10(1). Sir, what is the aggregate turnover that we need to satisfy? What is the aggregate turnover for the eligibility for 10(1)? Applicable to the registered person whose aggregate turnover in the preceding year is not exceeding 1.5 crore, and with respect to special category states 75 lakhs. That means in order to be eligible for this composition scheme in the current year, you need to check the aggregate turnover with respect to the previous year. If in the previous year the aggregate turnover is less than or equal to 1.5 crore, then in the current year you are eligible for this composition scheme. In order to check whether we are eligible for this composition scheme or not, we need to check the previous year turnover. What is the previous year turnover, ma? If it all is less than or equal to 1.5 crore, then in the current year you are eligible for this composition scheme. But whereas with respect to few states, instead of 1.5 crore, what is the limit that will be applicable? 75 lakhs. What are the states where the limit of this 1.5 lakhs, 75 lakhs will be applicable? Sikkim, Tripura, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Uttarakhand. Majorly northeast states there. Why instead of 1.5 crore, 75 lakhs was prescribed, ma? Why instead of 1.5 crore with respect to these 8 states, 75 lakhs was prescribed? What can be the reason? Small states. That means economically backward states. Okay. If at all they are economically backward states, then this limit should be increased. Na? Why it was decreased? Yes, Ms. Rajmandri. Okay, already there are so many benefits. That's why this was not there. Okay. Any other? Yes, ma? From online students, any answer, ma? Why the limit was decreased to 75? Yes, ma. So anybody? Because the reason is simple, ba. With respect to these northeast states which are economically underdeveloped, if at all we kept a higher limit, almost every business person will fit in that. Government will not get much revenue. If at all there is no revenue to the government cannot undertake the development activities. If the government has the money, then only the government can do the development activities now. In order to make it happen, the limit was decreased to from 1.5 to 75 lakhs. That was the reason. Okay. The next point is here. What is the composition rate that is applicable? The composition rates will be with respect to the manufacturer, 1% of aggregate turnover. With respect to the trader, 1% of taxable turnover. With respect to the restaurant, 5%, 2.5, 2.5, 5% of the aggregate turnover. Manufacturer, 1% of aggregate turnover. Trader, 1% of taxable turnover. Restaurant, 5% of aggregate turnover. The question is here, what is meant by the word aggregate turnover? This is called aggregate turnover. All taxable supplies, exempted supplies, exports, interstate supplies, that is deemed supplies, minus GST, minus RCM purchases. Minus GST, minus RCM purchases. That is the amount we will get. It is known as aggregate turnover. What is meant by the word aggregate turnover, ma? All taxable supplies, exempted supplies, exports, interstate supplies, minus GST, minus RCM purchases. What is the amount we will get? It is known as aggregate turnover. Manufacturer will pay the GST on aggregate turnover, whereas trader will pay GST on 1% on this taxable turnover. Manufacturer will pay that 1% on aggregate turnover, whereas trader will pay that 1% on this taxable turnover only, small portion. What is meant by the word aggregate turnover? Taxable plus exempted plus exports plus deemed supplies minus GST minus RCM purchases. What is the amount we will get? It is known as aggregate turnover. Okay, this manufacturer will pay that 1% on aggregate turnover, whereas trader will pay this 1% on taxable turnover only. That is the point. Okay, ma'am. So the next point is here. Sir, already you told you that this 10.1 is applicable only to the supplier of the goods, and the one and only service that was eligible was restaurant service. My doubt is here, along with supply of the goods, is it possible to make supply of service also? Under 10.1, along with the supply of the goods, is it possible to make supply of service also? That means goods plus service can be done. Yes, but up to a specified limit. What is that specified limit? Preceding financial year turnover 10% or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. How much preceding financial year turnover that was there? In that 10% or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. Let's say in the preceding financial year, our turnover was 90 lakhs. In that 90 lakhs, 10% means 9 lakhs. 9 lakhs or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher, 9 lakhs. So in the current year, you can make supply of service up to 9 lakhs. That is the point. Along with supply of the goods, you can make supply of service also, but up to a specified limit only. What is that specified limit? In the preceding financial year turnover 10% or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. So if the limit exceeds, you are not eligible, ma. If you are making the service within the sublimit, then definitely you are eligible for composition scheme. Sir, that means, is there no scheme that was exclusively for service providers? Yes, that particular scheme is known as concessional rate scheme under section 10(2)(a). This concessional rate scheme under section 10(2)(a), it is exclusively designed for supplier of services. Is it an optional one or a mandatory one? Optional scheme. Why it is an optional scheme? Just like the normal composition scheme, here also, if you want to go for this concessional rate scheme, you cannot climb the ITC. That is the point. And who are the eligible persons for this scheme? Exclusively engaged in supplying services other than restaurant. Why restaurants is not covered here? Because it is already covered under 10.1. That's why it is not covered under 10(2)(a). And any person who is not eligible for composition scheme, just now we discussed, goods plus service can be done, but services, the limit can do up to the specified limit. If the specified limit exceeds, you can't be eligible for 10.1. But if at all those conditions that are there in 10(2)(a) are satisfied, you can be eligible for 10(2)(a). That is the point, ma. Okay. What is eligibility turnover with respect to 10(2)(a), ma? Aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year not exceeding 50 lakhs. That means in the preceding financial year, if the turnover is less than or equal to 50 lakhs, then in the current year, you are eligible for this concessional rate scheme under 10(2)(a). When you are eligible for concessional rate scheme, in the preceding financial year, the turnover is less than or equal to 50 lakhs. In the current year, you are eligible for this concessional rate scheme 10(2)(a). What about 10(1)? Preceding financial year, the turnover is less than or equal to 1.5 crore, whereas with respect to few states, 75 lakhs is the limit. Okay. And what is the concessional rate that is applicable under 10(2)(a)? CGST 3%, SGST 3%. In total, it will be 6%. In total, it will be 6%. Okay. And here this point is not applicable up to this point. Please make a note of it. After that, we will see the remaining points. What is the topic we are discussing? Composition scheme. For which persons it was designed? Small scale industries. Okay. How many types of composition schemes are there? Two. One is normal composition scheme under 10(1). Second one is concessional rate scheme under 10(2)(a). So we are discussing about 10(1) and 10(2)(a) simultaneously in the table. So please make a note of it. After that, we'll proceed to the remaining points in section 10. 10 is not completed. Up to certain extent, it was completed. Meanwhile, up to this point, any doubts are there whether in 10(1) or 10(2)(a? While writing it, you can ask me whether online or offline students. Is it completed, those three notified goods, apart from those four, what are the other three? Building bricks, fly ash bricks, building bricks, fly ash bricks, roofing tiles. Building bricks, fly ash bricks, roofing tiles. Yes, Kannada teacher. Sir, maybe economically also population. Okay, previous question answer. Okay. That means I asked with respect to why 75 lakhs. Okay, or the main lead products that are sold. Okay, teacher, I got the sum of the sentence actually, and rest of the sentence actually I did not understand. Being a teacher, that is okay, fine. Yes, ma'am, is it completed copying this one? Okay, my third point. Okay, but is it completed, ma'am? Okay, fine. I think, yes, this one. Okay, copying this one. Time up, I think. Last 5 minutes is there. Fourth point. Yes, ma. Yes, Kannada teacher, I told you that one. Why ice cream is a notified good? We discussed at that point also, ma. Ice cream is generally the major raw material that is required to make the ice cream is milk, which is agro-based one. That's why exemption is, if at all it was brought within the scope of GST, the government will not get much revenue. That's why ice cream was excluded as a notified good. Sorry, included in the notified good and excluded as a composition good. So that's it. We will see the remaining ones in the next session. Bye to all.